Okay, I think we're good now.
There we go.
We're good. You know what? I think... Hold on, let me get this going. And just because we can and we do... Yay, look, hey. Hello. Y'all can see us. We're in 3D. We should be good. And in the interest of Zombie Popcorn Radio, I want to start over.
You want to what? Oh, yeah, that's fine.
So welcome to Zombie Popcorn Radio. It is February 6th, 2010. This is our 19th show.
19.1.
19.1, yes. And I'm Jason.
And I am Paul.
And we are now in 3D, and we have stuff going. So everything should be working perfectly now. So actually, no, everything shouldn't be working perfectly because I'm playing music. All right, let's try that. We should be all right now.
19.2.
Hello, Eric. 3.2. So, for those in the chat room and watching Zombie Popcorn 3D, I want to show this because it came in today, and if you order the shirt, this is what you will see and what you will get. The Zombie Popcorn t-shirt. This is the front. This is the back. Yay! So, if you're just listening to the radio section, you can go to zombiepopcorn.com, go to the Zombie Popcorn store, and check out what it looks like. So that's the shirt. And as we were saying earlier, we were supposed to go be zombies in a movie yesterday, a zombie western.
What's the name of the movie?
Devil's Crossing. But they canceled our day of the shoot due to the weather.
Because it was up in the mountains of North Carolina.
Yeah, and it was the weather was pretty bad, so they canceled it. But we did what any normal, two guys would do. We would actually, we actually went on a road trip,
on a field trip to the museums.
Because we heard about this museum down in
Bellhaven.
That had some really interesting things. But what we did on this trip, we actually recorded the trip. We actually took an audio thing. So you could actually go on the trip with us. And I think we should just play the first part of it just to kind of give you an idea of what we did on this trip.
All right.
So let me get that queued up. And here we go. This should be it. Oh, you know what? There you go. Let's play it. That's not it. Hold on. I don't know what
after waiting this long, they're really gonna.
They don't care. They're just like, man, these guys are fucking idiots. We are seriously having technical difficulties. All right.
Blame it on the snow.
It's all the snow's fault. Let's start that back.
We're here at Yorgo's Bagel Shop. We have bad news. The zombie filming has been canceled today. It's a sad, very sad. So, as we stuff our face, getting our energy up for the day with cheese products. With good old vegan bagel and sausage and cheese, vegan egg. Anyway, we decided that we're going to not let you down, not let the listeners down, and go on a road trip today to a place that I'm sure both of us, me, Paul, and you, the listener, will find very interesting. Can I explain what this place is?
It is it's a little museum in North Carolina, in a small little town that we hope to just find some interesting curiosities.
Very interesting.
I think there's a dress from a 700-pound woman in there. Which there's a 10-inch wide ball of string.
And a tumor that fills up a 10-gallon aquarium.
Yeah, as well as some prenatal babies, I believe.
Apparently the story goes, there's a woman who lived in a house that apparently collected everything and would not. She was pretty much a hoarder of just weird stuff. And she died at age 92. And the museum took all the stuff that she had, the local museum took all the stuff that she had in her house and moved it into their museum because she had such rare things. I mean, apparently there's supposed to be a bride and groom flea that you had to look at with a magnifying glass. So we're definitely going to check that out along the way. Maybe pick up some interviews from interesting people that we meet.
It is the Bellhaven, North Carolina Museum. So we are going to finish up our bagels, and then we'll talk to you from the car.
All right, we're on the road. Just two dudes in the car listening to Enigma. Sa, don't know. Be an actor. So we're driving down the road. It's pouring down rain, and we're out in the middle of nowhere. We see this building on the right-hand side of the road. It's actually just a house, but out in front of
Like a cinder block.
Yeah.
Kind of house.
And out in front is this hand-painted sign that says Big D's Flea Market. So we do a U-turn. We stop. We have to go to it because it's a gravel parking lot. It's good old 1980s horror movie setup. It's the windows are covered up with tarp. You can't see in. There's no one anywhere in sight. There's nobody on the road because it's raining. People are at work, so it's just us. It's just me and Paul in the car. We pull up, get in the parking lot. We get out of the car. As soon as we get out of the car, we notice the front door creak open. We don't see who opens the door. We don't see anything. It just opens up to like 3 inches. It just opens, just like a crack in the door. It just opens. There's a sign next to the door in the window that has a tarp behind the sign where you can't see in. It says, more stuff behind the building. It's really creepy. It's dark outside because of the rain. The door's opening by itself. So what would me and Paul do? We look at each other.
Let's do it.
And we walk in. As soon as we pull open the already open door the rest of the way, there is a 6 foot
6'4" or something like that.
Man with a huge white beard. He's probably 350 pounds. Paul said he looks like a
sea captain.
Yeah.
He's got a big old
sailor's cap on.
Sailor's cap on, yeah. It's like he just stepped off of a steamboat circa 1867 or something.
Missing teeth. He only has 2 teeth on the bottom that stuck up, kind of like a werewolf, but the rest of his teeth were missing. Yes, and he greets us. He's standing right there. So he's like, "What are y'all looking for?" And we're like, "Well, no, we're just here to check stuff out." And
just 2 dudes checking out a flea market.
Just 2 dudes checking it out. So we walk in, and he apologized. He said most of the stuff is normally out in front of the store, but it's raining, so he's keeping it inside. So we're stepping over piles of just junk, pretty much. It's just books, dolls, old picture frame, something that you see like at a garage sale. Piles of VHS tapes, piles of dolls, clothing, everything. It's kind of a cross between a hoarder's house and a yard sale. We start talking about movies, and somewhere in conversation we mentioned that we do zombie popcorn radio. And he starts to go on out talking about how he's met all these famous people because he's a Masonic. I can't even talk.
He's a masonry.
Thank you. And tells us all these great stories. We offered it
about Ernest Borgnine, oddly enough, that he cooked for.
At
a Masonic temple, which is just kind of cool.
Yeah. And so we talked for a while. We tried to get him on the radio to do a quick interview, just talk, because he had so many interesting stories. He just didn't want to do it. He said he wasn't that good of a talker. But he referred us to his friend that lives in Plymouth, which is, what we decided, how many miles? 20 miles or 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
So he calls him up in the store and says, "Hey, we got two guys from Norfolk. They from a radio station in Norfolk researching the area's history," which none of that we ever said. we mentioned we were interested in the history, but never said that we, first of all, we're a radio station. We said we had a radio show. But I can understand where the lines get blurred if you don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, the guy said he had messed with a computer once, so.
Yeah. So, it's cool. So, we're now on our way to meet this guy. Let me give you background to, what's that?
Yeah, I was just going to say we need to mention that the guy, whose name is Dr. Dave, Big D.
Big D owns the flea market.
Is a Civil War reenactor.
Big time.
And has been in, I think he said about 30 videos, which is...
Videos, not movies.
Videos of reenactment videos, which apparently there's some niche market for, I guess, Civil War reenactors go around and collect each other's videos.
Which is totally fucking fascinating. I don't care about Civil War reenactors and stuff like that. But the fact that, like you said before, is a subgenre of a subgenre of a subgenre. It's fascinating, and I want my hands on it.
Yeah, we definitely want to explore this style of movie video. We don't even know what to expect.
And for you 3D movie man, if it's cool, maybe we'll make it in 3D. Maybe we'll start the 3D market. But no, seriously, so he didn't have any of the videos because of they got stolen or something. But he said that we probably could find them. But the man to talk to, or the two men to talk to, number one about Civil War reenactment is this guy. What's his name? Tom?
I think so.
I don't remember.
And then another gentleman named Ben Cherry.
Ben Cherry. And he is the East Coast man to go to for Blackbeard reenactors.
He is a Blackbeard reenactor with a giant beard, puts it in braids.
Puts the burning incense in it.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what we're doing now. We're driving on our way to Portsmouth. I think we just arrived to Portsmouth. Plymouth, Portsmouth.
We've been here a while, but I don't...
Yeah.
I just see a couple strip malls. I don't see a...
There's really not much in this town. There's the Freedom Broadcasting.
Wow.
Oh, I gotta sneeze. It's probably gonna be loud. Sorry. Anyway, so we're looking for this guy so we can interview him, both of these guys, and to dig a little bit deeper into this little subgenre, give them a moment to get their voice out about what they're into. Plus, they invited us to come back in the spring to see North Carolina's largest Civil War reenactment. And there, I'm sure we'll get some gems.
Yeah.
But that's
I think we might need to turn around. I think we're leaving Plymouth.
Well, I think we need both of our attention, so we're going to stop here to find this place, but we'll get the interview going here in a second.
Okay, so that was the intro. That's what happened, and it was really interesting. I love what y'all were saying in the chat room about the Civil War. I was like, yeah, I don't think I've really met any hardcore Civil War reenactors. But we've been invited to one in the spring in April.
Actually, at first we kind of, rolled our eyes at each other. But after our trip to Plymouth and talking to the Plymouth expert, I think we both really want to go.
I know
this sounds really exciting, as strange as that sounds. This town puts on a show like no other, apparently.
Yeah, and the next guy we interview actually tells us about it.
Yeah.
And just kind of give you a little preview about what he says is they do a Civil War reenactment where they actually go door to door and do a whole town raid an invasion. It's crazy. And I'm not, I would never say that I was into this stuff, but I want to go down there and interview these people. I want to video it, take photos, and share it with you, the readers and the listeners of Zombie Popcorn, because I think it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
So the next guy is, okay, I want to back up and say, the people we were referred to today by Captain D or Dr. D. The guys, I didn't realize this until just now, that the names of the people he referred us to really have interesting names. The pirate guy, his name is...
I was going to bleep his name out. I didn't.
Well, I mean, said...
Yeah, anyway. Ben Cherry.
Ben Cherry. The guy that we interviewed, his name is Harry Thompson.
Is it?
So, yeah.
Harry Thompson, nice.
You need a shave.
My dad said he was once in a meeting with a guy named Lance and another guy named Bruce Seaman and another guy named Dick something, which is hilarious because my father's name is Woody. So, yeah. Just wanted to interject that. That's the only time I could fit that story in there. Yeah.
That's funny, but yeah, Civil War Zombies would be an awesome movie.
Oh, wouldn't it though?
It would be. I mean, I think we should do it. I think all of the listeners to Zombie Popcorn Radio, when we go to this Civil War reenactment in April, we should all go dressed as zombies.
Nice. We were talking about that. If we ran the Plymouth Museum, that we would just fill everyone's head with false information about the first zombie uprising being attributed to slaves in the South bringing back the Confederate dead to do their bidding.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
That sounded like a Rob Zombie film or something.
Yeah, it kind of does.
But anyway, so we're gonna go into the next segment of the guy that we were sent to interview, since the first guy.
And this kind of just jumps in because when we walked in the door,
the dude was waiting for us.
Yeah,
and he started talking.
Phone calls went through this town. It was kind of strange.
Yeah. It was funny because we should actually set that up a little bit better. We walked in this place, and we didn't really know what to expect. We didn't know if this guy was going to be crazy, or we really didn't know. And when we walked in, the first question he asked is, "Where are you from?" So we tell him.
Where are y'all from?
Yeah. So we tell him, and he's like, "Oh," and just drop of a hat starts talking.
Went straight into it.
Everything. And finally, when he took a breath, I had to stop him and say, "Hey, we want to record this." And he's like, "Okay." And he hands me, and he gives me a paper, and he goes, "You should read this," and then just starts talking. So.
And, at first, it makes it sound like assholes, but you go down there and you're like, oh, this tiny town, these tiny town people, ha ha ha. We're so fucking worldly in our shit little town we live in. And this guy, this old man that was in the place,
was the coolest
guy I've ever met. And we're thinking of adopting him.
As Zombie Popcorn's mascot.
Honorary grandfather. Genteel grandfather.
If you want to see what this guy looks like, he's in the newest post. There's a picture of him at the bottom of the newest
standing
post.
in front of a giant flag, circa Civil War something.
Yeah.
And so he's got good stories, and just a nice guy.
Totally nice guy.
And actually, for us, made a pretty, we both like history, but I've never cared too much about Civil War history.
Yeah.
I've never been so interested in Civil War since I've met this man.
And the cannonballs. I mean, the cannonball story. Anyway, you'll hear it. Here he is. Harry Thompson.
Wanting to fight, just going round and round. Mm-hmm. But there was no major fight in the battle.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, he's a little bit too harsh. When you shoot the other guy over there and watch the cannonball bounce off of him, what do you do for an encore? He might have one bigger than you got, and you sort of stay away from him.
Yeah.
So that's the way it was. It was a trial, new kind of warfare.
Yeah.
and it was a trial.
New technology.
He also said in a letter, he said, I was a sailor at the Battle of Bachelor's Bay, which is the mouth of the river.
Mm-hmm.
When the ironclad Albemarle came out of the Roanoke River and whipped us all, he said, oh.
Wait, I need to stop this just for you. I got to give a disclaimer. The noise you hear, you have to picture, we're in a very, very small town. And we're in a Civil War museum that probably nobody goes to. I mean, because it's out in the middle
We're
of
the
nowhere.
only people there. But a very well done museum.
Yeah, it's it's very nice. And this guy probably was just happy to have visitors so he could tell this story. So he was walking all over the place. Look at this. Look at this. Look, and we're trying to follow him, because he was just talking. So we're trying to get our, kind of fumbling around, getting our stuff together, so we wouldn't miss what he had to say because he was just so interesting. So the little noises you hear is us chasing after him inside this museum. It's actually really funny, but that's what you hear the little rattling for. So here he is.
Folks, now that was a battle.
Yeah.
5 hours.
Real quick, what is your name?
Harry Thompson.
Harry Thompson?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is the
Port of Plymouth.
Plymouth Museum in Plymouth, North Carolina.
Right.
We're here with Harry Thompson, telling us, kind of giving us the history of why this area was such a keystone battle during the Civil War.
Well, the area here was fought over 3 times. We were twice occupied by the North and once by the Confederates. It was a major battle, the second largest battle in the entire state. But the battle here produced the ironclad ram Albemarle. She was quite a ship. She was done by John Porter, the man who did the Virginia up at Battle of Hampton Roads. Same man designed this boat. But these ironclad ships, the one we had here, became so successful that the British Navy canceled 7,500 shiploads of lumber they had ordered for the Union Navy and went all entirely to metal ships.
Because of the ironclad.
Because of the ironclad and the battle here at Plymouth.
To give the listeners who haven't seen the ship, you have a replica here. The ironclad is a massive ship where all sides...
155 foot long.
Yeah, 155 foot long, where all the sides, front, back, is covered with iron. So it will deflect any type of artillery or...
walls over 2 foot thick.
2 foot thick. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
5 inches of oak, 4 inches of iron, and the rest of it out of heart pine timbers. And the walls were actually 2 foot thick, and they fired at it with lead mint shells. Wow. And never broke a bolt. The ironclad at the Battle of Bachelor's Bay, armed with 2 guns, defeated 7 Union warships.
Wow.
Armed with 56 cannons. So it's pretty bad odds.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be driving that ship saying that.
She whipped all 5 of those Union ships in 5 hours.
Captain D, we met just earlier, he was talking about how...
Dr. D.
You telling us how it rammed one ship and sunk it.
Yeah, she rammed one ship and sunk it in 5 minutes. She punched a 20-foot hole right through the middle of it. It went down right over here to the other side of the river. In 5 minutes, it's still sitting there, all 250 foot of them.
Well, you can still see...
No, you can't see it.
It's just at the bottom.
It's at the bottom of 37 foot of water.
Oh,
wow.
And Because this water here in this river is very deep.
Mhm.
We were a seaport in 1800, and we had 26 ocean-going sailing ships sail all over the world. So we were a miniature seaport like
Yeah.
Norfolk, so to speak. But she fought all those Union ships. She whipped 12 and never lost but one man. And he was the only man killed, and he like a fool stuck his head out the porthole to see how the battle was going on. And a sniper shot him through the head and killed him.
You can't really
Man,
blame that on the ship.
I blame that on curiosity.
They say it does kill the
And,
cat.
so it's always amazing things. I used to have a lot of fun. I always asked everybody where they come from when they come in the door. And I always delighted in catching me some Chicagoites and some Detroitites. And I did about as far north as you could get up there. And when they come in, I say, well, welcome to the only museum in the South that's neutral. We don't take sides. And they all looked at me so much, that can't be. You live in the South, don't you? You're bound to take sides. I said, no, you haven't heard the whole story. You see, in 1862, all the local young men had gone off to war. And in their absence comes 2,000, 3,000 nice young Union soldiers with brand new uniforms on. Now, who in the devil do you think these girls around here dated for the next 2 years?
Nice.
They dated those Yankee boys with those nice new uniforms. We come along in 64 and we captured them and sent them all down to Andersonville prison in Georgia. And they didn't see a girl down there for a whole year in that old prison. And when they finally get the war ended, they got released. They all made a beeline back through Plymouth and picked up their old girlfriends and carried them up north and married them.
Nice.
And now everybody in the county has one Confederate and one Union ancestor. So we have to be neutral.
Nice.
We have to be neutral here at the
That's
museum. So you sort of have to make history enjoyable every night.
Right,
The
right.
regular old history books are so dry and so boring that the people put a lot more life into it.
Yeah.
And the Union lived here for 2 years.
Yeah. Wow.
And you can imagine the stories we hear all the time. 2 rooms, all the Battle of Plymouth.
Oh, wow.
And the biggest headache we have at the Battle of Plymouth is cannonballs. You would not believe the women find them all, because they are the ones that plant the shrubbery.
Oh, right.
They plant the flower gardens. They're the ones that got shovels in the yard, and they're the ones that dig them up. And the horror stories, every one of these were loaded when they brought them in here.
Oh, wow.
And, for example, I had a 78-year-old woman come in one day with her car keys in her hand. And I said, what can I do for you? She said, take these car keys and go get that cannonball out of the trunk of my car. And I said, all right, I'll be delighted. And she said, I figured to bring you another one. And she said, it's too heavy for me, I can't carry it. So I went out and got the cannonball, brought it in. When I set it down, it rolled over. And I could see the fuse was still in it.
Oh, my gosh.
And I said, ma'am, you know you brought me a loaded cannonball? She said, yeah, I knew it was loaded. I said, well, you drove 35 miles with it rolling around the trunk of your car. I said, it's still loaded. She said, I found it 20 years ago. It's been in the closet in my house for the past 20 years. So this is what we hear all the time.
Wow.
But all of ours now are unloaded.
Uh-huh.
We use a Virginia man, Peter George, up in the state of Virginia, the official unloader up there for Virginia. He
What does it
comes
take
down
to
here,
unload them?
And I call him an idiot.
Right.
Every time he comes in, because he unloads them. But he has tools that they can unscrew those fuses. Some of them we can't get out, and you have to drill them.
Wow.
But everyone in our museum is now unloaded. We found one over here on this table, one of the last shells fired by the Ram Albemarle. Fired at the fort here in town. It overshot the fort and landed in the swamp just on the other side of the highway.
Wow.
And we found it over there in 3 foot of mud and water with metal detectors. It was fully loaded, and we would take a sample of the powder and sprinkle it on a newspaper, stand back and throw a match at it, and watch the whole newspaper poof, go right up.
Wow.
And explode.
So you guess
Still
there's
good
probably
after 150
still
years.
plenty of cannonballs
Oh,
around
yeah,
here.
yeah.
So-
Look, there's some a little bit larger.
Oh wow, those are huge.
That's what they call a 132 pounder.
What would those be shot out of?
Leadmints Dahlgren. That's a ship cannon.
Okay.
And this one here, 2 boys drove up with a pickup, got them a cart, went around to the back of the pickup and put that big one right there in it, rolled it up here. I said, what can I do for you boys? They said, please take this cannonball before Granddaddy killed himself. I said, what are you talking about, boys? They said, well, Granddaddy was digging a ditch out here next to the river and hit something in dirt. He got on his hands and knees and brushed it all off, and it was just a 132-pound cannonball. Wow. Said somehow he got it on the tailgate of the pickup, and he came home with it bouncing on the tailgate of the pickup. Said, we were doing some work for Grandma, and said, we heard something going clank, 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 and went around back of the house to see what it was, and there was Granddaddy sitting on the back porch with the legs hanging off the wooden floor, with that cannonball between his 2 knees, with a hammer and a cold chisel trying to cut a hole in it. And it's still fully loaded, so they brought it in here and said, please take it before he kills himself.
Wow.
And we unloaded that one. We took the fuse out of that one and unloaded the powder out of that, and it was still good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
One spark with that cold chisel, and that would have been the end of him and his whole house. You know, Virginia just lost a man, Sam White, up there. It was in all the newspapers.
Really?
He blew himself and his whole house up in Richmond.
Wow.
Blew his whole house away, and him. And they found a part of that cannonball a quarter of a mile away in another man's living room floor. It had gone a quarter of a mile, crashed through the roof of his house, through the ceiling, and landed in the floor of the house, and buried itself in the wooden floor.
Wow. So how thick, just to give the listeners a kind of idea of what these cannonballs look like, you have various shapes and sizes. Most of them are round, almost perfectly round, it looks like. How thick are the insides of these cannonballs?
Oh, I'll give you an example.
Oh, wow.
The inside is full of lead balls and gunpowder. And it has a fuse in the end. Now, this is a contact fuse. It hits anything with 10 pounds of pressure, and it goes off. It has an explosive device underneath the cap.
Okay.
It explodes with 10 pounds of pressure. Now, this one has a time fuse. You set that time fuse, for example, at 7 seconds. That goes 1,750 yards, and then it blows up in the air and shreds everything you can imagine, with just like a giant shotgun shell, with bullets and so forth. Then they had some, here's one here, literally a tin can full of scrap iron.
Wow.
And that goes through the air fired by that.
It's like a giant pipe bomb almost.
Yeah. And when it comes out of that cannon barrel, the metal is strode all over everywhere like bullets.
Yeah.
Sometimes they put nails on them. And that's just the nails will go flying through the air, and everybody hits it. It hurts them.
Yeah.
This is what they call canister.
And this
That is a shell full of small gun shells. That cannon barrel is that big around.
Mm-hmm.
So this is inside
That is that's fired just like exactly like you see it. right there.
Oh,
And it comes out of that cannon barrel, it comes to pieces, and all them balls go flying through there. And they're primarily used against ships
To
try to
put
cut the
holes
ship's
and-
mast
Wow.
down, so forth.
So the one he was just describing, that kind of looks like a massive spring, and in between each coil is these massive lead steel balls that are just solid, and that's what would project out and hit the ships.
About the size of, would you say, like a
Like a-
small orange or an apple?
Yeah, almost baseball size.
Like they do a really destructive. Come
Wow.
here, let me show you, for example. Well, here's a box of shells that was found in the river.
Wow,
It
this
was
whole
thrown
box
off
was found.
It was thrown off of a ship that got sunk in the battle. And recently, 9 years ago, East Carolina divers, East Carolina University, came here and were working on the waterfront. They found that case thrown overboard.
So these had never been
With,
shot.
with the never been shot. There are two different types. These are contact explosives. These had paper fuses in the end.
Yeah.
And you see those grooves on each side? That is to let the fire from the original blast of the gun shell to pass up and light the fuse. So when it comes out of the barrel, the fuse
So it's
is
like a
burning.
timed,
But it only comes on exactly when you fire it.
nice.
Getting clear, then it lights it.
That's pretty ingenious,
That is
actually.
actually really nice. It's
But
just,
here's one of my favorites. This shell is a Schinkel shell.
Mm-hmm.
The Schinkel shell was invented by the North, and it had a metal fuse in the end of it. But their fuses weren't much good. And after several battles, the South saw there were hundreds of them laying out there on the battlefield, unexploded. So the South, always short of iron of all kinds during the Civil War, they took them in to their shops, drilled them, and put a paper fuse in them, and turned around and shot them back in the next battle. Ours went off.
yeah.
So we always enjoy that one.
That's
The
nice.
original shell had a paper mache base,
Oh, wow.
and we didn't have a mill down south to make paper mache, and so we made wooden bases
Oh, wow.
and set them in the wooden bases, shoot them
And
back
shoot 'em
at
back.
them. But ours worked very well.
Wow.
Yeah.
And but it was really an amazing time. You're looking at development of all kinds of new warfare. People are stunned when they find out here at Plymouth there were rockets. That's a rocket and that's a rocket. And they asked me about what in the world are they doing with rockets. That's World War II.
Yeah.
I said, no, the rocket's red glare. It's Revolutionary War. And the Chinese had them 400 years before that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing new about a rocket. And it just became more and more developed.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a write-up here in a book done by the 24th New York Cavalry. They were the rocket people. And they go on to say in there, they were very dangerous. You didn't know where they were going. When you launched them off the ground, they would go up and you weren't careful to circle around and come back where they went. So it wasn't a sophisticated thing like World War II. But there's always all kinds of different things used. They had hand grenades here at Plymouth. They used them to catch them. Patented hand grenade. That one back at the back is made just like this one here with a tail fin.
Yeah.
So that it always went straight so that nose out there.
That is.
When it landed on that, it
looks
would go
like,
off the yard dirt.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or that like Nerf football that
Yeah.
has the center.
And then they had some of them that had little streamers on the back, so when you threw it, that like the tail of a kite.
Yeah.
It always kept it going right. But these are the reins right here, and that is a Ketchum patented hand grenade. So there are all sorts of inventive processes. They invented the machine gun, the Gatling gun, became a very standard way of war from then on.
Yeah.
So the Civil War was a great inventor of so many things. Do you realize that they had no way to put you to sleep during the Civil War?
Yeah.
If they had to cut your leg off, they couldn't put you to sleep.
Piece of wood in your mouth. Or
No, they give you a bullet to bite on.
bite. That's where bite the bullet.
That's where
That's
you
what
get
the
that
phrase
frame
comes-
bite the bullet
Yeah.
from the Civil War. And medicine, anesthesia, they had no concept of cleanliness.
Yeah.
They would use the same knife to cut off 6 people's legs and transferring the germs from person to person.
Yeah.
The nursing was developed during the war between the states.
Embalming.
And
Yeah.
so we're looking at the start of a lot of things when you deal with war.
Yeah.
And
I mean, just that and the fact that it's just people are very resourceful. I mean, taking
Right.
the other side's weapons and using it against them.
but these shells, see these little lead balls that are on them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When that shell explodes, those shells will go everywhere, and everything it hits, it injures. So it's like a
Shrapnel
giant
is-
shotgun
yeah.
shell.
This is a giant shotgun shell. Yeah.
So shrapnel was very important during battles.
And like I say, a lot of these, if they didn't have the lead, they took nails and poured in there.
Yeah.
And you can imagine what one goes off with a pound of nails.
Yeah,
And
it's just a projectile.
they're all projectiles. Each one of them becomes a projectile.
Yeah.
Of 6 men
Wow.
the first day of battle. Well, you ain't winning many battles. Sacrifice 500 men to get 6.
Yeah.
So the second day, they pulled the men out in the middle of the night. They crossed the creek and came, and the second day they were right here. They got up all prepared to go to shooting. Nobody was out there. Well, this had 125 defenders in it, and you had 10,000 men out here in front of you. But the ironclad had come in the middle of the night. The ironclad had defeated the whole Union fleet and driven them out of the river.
Wow.
Now, all the cannons out here in the river were Confederate.
Oh, that's
So the second day of battle, the whole battle was changed. They attacked with 10,000 men in front of them, and the ironclad was shelling in behind. And they broke through the fort and broke into town, and then they went from house to house, street to street, and they took all of Plymouth the second day of battle. But they sure didn't do nothing that first day.
No, you sure did. You do reenactments and stuff, and there's one coming up in the spring that you were talking about earlier that's going to actually bring the ship down. Can you?
Well, many years ago, the Union men that were here, when they went to Andersonville prison, the boys in prison asked them, "Where you boys from?" "Oh, we're from Plymouth." Says, "Where were you captured?" "We've all captured at Plymouth." So they nicknamed them the Plymouth Pilgrims. Was the nickname that they gave these 3,000 prisoners from here. And when they came out at the end of the war, people would talk with them, "Where were you during the war?" "Oh, I was one of the Plymouth Pilgrims." They adopted it for a nickname. All right. Here, when we put our little museum in, we passed the word to all those Plymouth Pilgrim descendants up north. And every year they come down and we redo the Battle of Plymouth. we have a street-to-street, house-to-house battle through town on Saturday afternoon.
Wow.
On Sunday, we have a fort. We bought a piece of land and saved the last fort left of Plymouth. We owned that last fort, just right here. They broke in. And we go out there and we redo the whole Battle of Plymouth with the Union descendants.
Wow.
And they all become good friends, and they come every year. Some have been here for 20 years. And we do our little battles. We have torchlight tours at night, camera around and let them see where the ancestors sort of stayed or lived. Each one of the units that were here had them a different headquarters. Mm-hmm. And we show them where all the headquarters were. And they've heard the tales from their ancestors so much that it's like coming home to them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then on Sundays, we have a memorial service down on the side of the river. And they toss nice great big wreaths in the river, one for the Union Navy, one for the Union Army, one for the Confederate Navy, and one for the Confederate Army, and let the wreaths float on down to the same.
Yeah.
It's a very nice looking little thing, and it puts a little bit more sincerity to these battles as something they can take part in. And we're one of the few places that can do a reenactment, naval and on land.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because we've got their ship, the Union ship, rebuilt in full size, and it and the little ram have their battle out there every year. So we have the capability of having a naval battle. The ship's out there, the cannons on shore shooting at them, and they're shooting at the cannons on shore. So we're very blessed to have two kinds of events,
Yeah.
naval and military.
Well, that was it. That was Harry Thompson. He was
26 minutes.
yeah. I mean, we just recorded it yesterday, so we wanted to share with you. But yeah, no.
And that's probably what, like a quarter of
Yeah, he talked for
how long we talked to him.
We were probably there for 3 hours. He just talked and talked and talked.
And yeah, he had some really good stories that
Didn't
make it in there because he said, don't worry, recording this, and then told the greatest story.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the greatest stories. You want to tell it? The last one?
no,
Okay.
you can.
I don't know if I could give it justice the way he did, but
Yeah.
it's pretty. I mean, it was awesome. So that's what we did. We made the choice between picking him or picking Blackbeard. We picked him, and I think we came up with some good stuff from him.
Yeah.
It's just insane about the stuff. I want to take a break before we go into the next clip and talk about something that fits in the movie realm of modern day. That today, I don't know if any of y'all play video games or whatever, but I'm sure you're familiar with the game Left 4 Dead. Well, today apparently there was a movie trailer put out, a movie teaser for the official Left 4 Dead movie, and I think this is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna play the trailer real quick just to kind of put it out there, because it just came out today. And I'm really excited about this. I hope it's gonna be good. Loud.
Well, I'm sure you gleaned a lot of information from that.
That's the best part. No, it's actually a fan base trailer. There's really no Left 4 Dead coming out, but there is rumors about. That was loud. There are rumors about Hollywood kicking around the idea of making it. I really hope they make it because the game is awesome. I love the game. But so anyway, after I just busted everybody's eardrums, you haven't played 2 yet? You should. It's really good. I've only played the demo. I haven't actually played the full game. So we're gonna go to the part 3. Part 3 of this trip
was the intended goal.
Yeah, it was why we left.
It's not nearly as long as the second part. In case you're worried.
Yeah. So keep going. I thought you were.
Yeah. No. I guess Miley was saying she needs to blend.
So this is pretty much why we went down. This is where the one-eyed pig, the two-headed pig, the fleas dressed up, all that crap is from, the Freak Show Museum pretty much. And the guy kept pissing off or making Paul mad.
No, he didn't.
I'm just kidding. But anyway, here is that.
So we're here in
Bellhaven.
I always want to say Bellhaven for some reason. Bellhaven, North Carolina, and we're standing here with what's your name?
Arthur Congleton.
And he's going to give us a verbal tour of this wonderful museum we are in now. He would probably be best to tell the story. So.
The Bellhaven Museum started in the home of Mary Eva Blunt Way, a lady who lived outside of town here on Beach Ridge Road. She was married to a Quaker ship captain who was gone a lot and brought back presents for her. And she had started collecting buttons when she was a newlywed back in the 1870s, in the 1880s. And from there, it just sort of took off. Once people realized that she collected things, they would bring her interesting things that they knew she'd like. And eventually, she opened up her home for people to tour. If someone would simply show up, ring the bell, and she'd bring them through. Then when World War I came around, her son, who was in overseas at the time, told her that if she could do anything to help the Red Cross, then that would be the thing for her to do. So at that time, she opened it up and collected money for the Red Cross. So through her death in 1962, she, over a period of some 70 years, she allowed people to go through her home. And then after she died, the Museum Foundation bought the collection from her heirs, and moved it up here to Bellhaven, where it's been ever since.
So everything in the museum was once properties of her, or
maybe about 80% of it.
Mm-hmm. We're standing in front of a wall right now that probably has how many buttons? I mean,
the estimate is 30,000. She actually counted 10,000 buttons herself, but gave up on it when she was in her 70s.
Yeah.
So, but she has a broad range of interest. You'll see things from 2 dressed fleas that were dressed as a wedding couple that were a gift supposedly from gypsies who were doing migrant work in the area at the time. You've got a pair of walrus tusks that were the gift of a Swedish ship captain on his way back home to retire. Old dresses, quilts, furniture, artifacts from the war, a German machine gun from World War I, helmets and insignia and so forth, farm implements, canned goods from the farm. Just a little bit of everything, really.
She must have been a remarkable woman just to have people donate this stuff to her.
Oh, yeah, well, there's always somebody who's interested in interesting, unusual things, and generally they attract the attention of people who are cleaning out their attics and wanting to get rid of things, so it becomes a place to put it to good use.
Yeah.
But She has a collection of things in jars. A pig with 2 snouts, a pig with 1 eye, pig with 8 legs, a 2-headed kitten, different things like that. And she was a great admirer of snake anatomy, in that she liked to kill snakes and dissect them. So she has a nice collection of rattlesnakes back there. Definitely not a lady that you needed to mess around with.
I guess, yeah.
But she had a lot of interest. She was just always curious about life and liked unusual things. And at the back there is a display of buttons that look like vitamins. And she writes a little poem about how buttons are her vitamins. They keep her young and alive and so forth.
Nice.
But on the historical side of things, just to balance out the oddity, the odd side of the equation, I said that she was a Blunt, which is a very important name in North Carolina and Tennessee. Her great uncle was William Blunt, who signed the Constitution for North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
And he was later territorial governor of Tennessee and Kentucky. So it's a very prominent family on that side of things.
Wow. That's probably her connection of getting...
Well, that couldn't help.
Yeah, no. It's fascinating. I mean, we're standing in front of a dress as well here that says that it was worn by a lady who weighs 700 pounds. What's the story?
It was the Chauncey woman, I believe, is on the tag.
Yeah.
The story that I heard was that that was her best dress, and they were going to bury her in it, but she wouldn't fit. So they had to bury her in her second best dress.
The dress wouldn't fit. So they...
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think she got out much.
No.
Yeah.
To get 700 pounds. What year was this?
I'm not sure of the year. She lived, I think, only a few blocks from here. She's buried in the cemetery down at the intersection by the Trademark.
Yeah. The one that you drive by when you come into town?
Quite a few local celebrities here in Belhaven. You can go on Old County Road and pass the grave of Little Eva, the girl who sang the Locomotion song, which was later covered by Grand Funk Railroad in the 70s when I was in school. But she was a local Belhaven girl she was babysitting for Carole King or somebody like that, who saw that she had talent, and she got a recording contract from it. But she just died a few years ago.
So outside of the collection of the bride and groom fleas and the jarred medical animals, jarred animals, what is one of the things that people look over most that you find the most fascinating in this museum?
Well, it all depends on what your interests are. If you're a military buff like I am, you'd be interested in the German machine gun, which weighs a good 50 pounds.
And that's over right here?
Yeah, that's over here. Somebody brought that back as a war trophy. I like to tell people that you might find a museum that has a dress fleas, and you might find a museum that has a German machine gun, but hardly ever do you find them both in the same building.
Definitely.
It's something I used to say about the museum being thematically a cross-section between Ripley's Believe It or Not and the Smithsonian. You've got the historical and the weird side by side.
And that's pretty much what life is about.
Yeah. Life is strange, and you have to pay tickets for the ride.
Paul's pointing out a radio here, General Electric, and
it's just I've got the matching tattoo on my foot.
Which he has the same tattoo as the...
Close to it.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah.
Oh, the atomic symbol?
Yeah. My love for atomic B movies goes pretty far.
So, man,
this is great.
So personally, this would be your
yeah, I like things like that.
Yeah. That is pretty fascinating. That's a massive gun.
But you'll find something that anybody could be interested in. There's women's clothing, nice selection of lace work over there.
Yes. We saw
there is a newspaper from 1865, April 15th, the day that Lincoln died.
Wow.
A copy of the New York Herald, and you can read in one column the unfolding event, since it's a special edition, an extra edition. as they got information, they set the type, then added more information and so forth. And then at the very end, they correct all the mistakes that they made and apologize to the people that they said that were dead who really weren't.
Oh, wow.
So it's a good
Definitely.
study in journalism, but nothing else.
Yeah. And you had some musical instrument when you come in. What's the story of that?
That's a
Auto harp?
we've got auto harps. Actually, the trademark term is guitar zither, but it's basically an auto harp with button keys rather than piano keys. There's a organ from a local church that was donated, a pump organ, where the feet operated a bellows to keep it supplied with sound.
Yeah, I've got a Shruti box that's like the really tiny Indian equivalent, only without keys. You just set your notes. And
If you know anybody who's got a theremin, I wouldn't mind having one up here. You do? You know the story behind theremin's invention?
I've heard a few, but let's talk about it.
There is
I love the theremin.
There is a connection between theremin and the Russian Secret Service. The story that I heard was that he came up with a device for listening to occupied buildings by bouncing sound off of windows. The sound of the people talking inside would make the windows vibrate just a little bit, and you could actually pick it up at a distance.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that. I know when he had perfected it, he kind of ran with the idea of the theremin for everything. He made shortly after was when the Lindbergh baby was kidnapped, and he made it an alarm that would set up for you'd put it on the crib, and if you got too close, it'd make the theremin noise and wake the whole house up. And he even made a dance floor that you would use your whole body, and like instead of just your left and right hand to control tone and pitch, your knees and your height would
It's
control.
like a primitive Wii, really.
Yeah. Only it was almost impossible to play. It just, the slightest tremor would put everything out of tune.
Sounds like a pretty good way of interrogating people down in Gitmo.
Yeah.
Put them in a theremin room and watch them go slowly wacky.
Yeah, I guess you could.
Anyways.
But if you study the history of recording devices for espionage, one of the best ones I ever heard of was they actually found a way to eavesdrop on people using cats. They implanted a microphone surgically in a cat, and if the cat was anywhere nearby, the sound waves of your voice would vibrate through the cat and be picked up by the microphone. Wow. They said that it worked reasonably well. The biggest problem was that the cat wouldn't stay where you wanted him to, and would just kind of wander off.
Yeah, wow.
So,
I guess you should have put it in a more sedentary animal.
Yeah, a Jack Russell Terrier, perhaps, or something like that.
That's great.
Like that. Interesting. There was something else that I wanted.
Oh, I liked the human hair wreath.
That's what it was.
It's a human hair wreath.
Is that for Victorian mourning, or?
Well, during the 19th century, there was sort of a general fascination with human hair. They would collect it, save it as a memento, particularly if someone was going off to war or getting married or something. You'd have a lock of hair, and it was not unusual for them to weave it into shapes. So that here you have a wreath made out of individual florets of human hair donated by the different members of the community.
That's pretty interesting. It's hard to describe what we're looking at, for radio, but you would not, by a glance, would know it would be made from human hair. It actually kind of looks like almost a piece of felt work, felt material.
Or like brown lace.
Yeah, I was going to say wilted lace.
Yeah, it's actually pretty intricate.
It is pretty fascinating.
But that was a big deal then.
Interesting. Well, we thank you so much for having this place and taking your moment to talk
Okay.
to us about. We'll give out websites and directions later on in the program.
Like I said, you'll find a little bit of everything on almost any topic that you could think of.
Pretty much with everything.
It pretty much runs the gambit in here, I
Yeah.
gotta say.
It makes eclectic seem inadequate as a word.
Yeah, that's a good call.
All right, so that was it. What was I saying? Anyway, Miley, they said, because the camera shot over there, they said that we're not allowed to show Miley. She's like the guy across the fence from Home Improvement, because we talk about you all the time, but we never see you.
Apparently you're not.
No, they didn't see it. They're saying, well, good, the secret's safe. So that was that guy. And I'm going to take a quick break because Eric from the chat room probably is going to call in here in a second and talk about something. But I'm going to take a quick music break, so I can get things straightened up here a little. And then we'll be back in just a second. I'm going to play a soundtrack from a John Carpenter's movie. So enjoy. This is still live for them. All right, we're back. You go ahead. So, if you couldn't guess, that was from John Carpenter's movie Vampires. People in the chat room were trying to pick out what movie it was from. So we're back. Eric, are you going to call in or?
Because we're out of stuff.
No, we're not. We're good. All right, you feel free. You have the floor for the next 45 minutes. Or wait, unless did he leave? Well, go ahead and call back. So call now so we can get you on, and when he gets back, we can actually talk. So let's do it.
Boy, the energy level's real high. No,
Wait.
Is it 40?
More Dr. Pepper. Yay. 3D Movie Man went to go get some Dr. Pepper. Hello, Eric.
Well, I think I'm able to hear Paul now. Should be able to anyway, since he's in the room.
Yeah?
Yeah, he should be able to.
Yeah, so we're 100 times better than last time, so...
Right.
Well, in theory, we are.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to see
only in theory, yeah.
What's that?
What was it that this guy, or was that a joke? How did this guy piss Paul off? What was all that about?
No, he didn't really piss me off. We're just...
No, we were just joking.
Although he did talk a little trash on my recording machine,
Yeah,
but we let it slide.
That was all. I was referencing to that because Paul has had a digital recorder strapped around his shoulder. He could tell you more details about it. I don't know much about it, but the guy asked him. He goes, "Oh, that's pretty old, huh?" Which is not old. And he asked Paul how many. Paul explained to him that it was a digital recorder, and the guy goes, "What? How much space do you got on it?" And he goes, "Well, right now all I have is a gig card, flash card in it." And the guy goes, "Oh, you could go to Walmart and get a terabyte hard drive much cheaper." Just started trashing on his thing. It's kind of funny. But anyway.
But we don't think he really meant any harm. And he was an alright guy.
Yeah, he was a good guy. We just thought that part was funny.
Is 3D Movie Man back? Because this concerns him.
No, he says he's back. He said he got more Dr. Pepper, so he's back.
Okay. I'm going to talk about the two horror masterpieces that I wanted to talk about, but first I want to get this over with so we get that out of the way. I think last week people were discussing in the chat room something about a 3D Kung Fu movie.
That's coming out?
No. That it's old. It's 1977 or 78 or 79.
Yeah.
One of those 3 years. Called Dynasty.
Revenge of the Shogun Women too.
Yeah, that's another one. I don't know if that would really count though, but Dynasty for sure is a kung fu. And no, that's not an alternate title. They're two completely different movies.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, that's just something to think about. And it's for sale. A copy of it's for sale, and I saw a review of it that apparently works with the LCD shutter lenses. It works quite well. Underground3dmovies.com.
Oh yeah, I know about that site.
You know that site?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the guy that told me to get a converter, and then you said not to. So I don't know. I'm very confused.
Well, I mean,
but anyway,
that is such a generic term with most, and if you can tell me what piece of equipment that he asked you to get or what he referred you to, I can tell you if it's going to fit what you're trying to do with it. If it's going to be the best 3D quality, or if it's just going to be all right quality, Well,
naturally, he referred me to what he was selling. I would have to go on that. That was months ago. I'm going to have to go on there.
That's right. I can pull it
anyway.
up.
You can what?
I'll pull it up now while you're talking.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about the before I lose Paul completely, because he's going off reading something there.
No, he's looking at the 3D glasses.
Yeah. Sorry.
The the 2 hours. Look at me. The two horror movies that I wanted to talk about. Each of them are from the same year, 1981, and the first one, Possession, is one that I had seen about a year ago. A friend of mine lent it to me when I was keen on seeing it because I had heard about it. And I don't want to give anything away in that movie, or at least not too much. In fact, I'm only going to say a fragmented plot line, which is it's about a woman who's having an affair with a supernatural octopus.
What?
Nice.
That's awesome.
I'm not sure why they called it Possession. I think it should have been called Octopussy,
Or
but that's the story.
I have to see that
Anyway,
movie.
after that lame joke, what?
That reminds me, if you have a chance, look up a Japanese print by Hokusai. He's the guy that does the big wave and all that you always see. But he does an interesting print of a woman with an octopus that I was really shocked when I saw.
Are you talking about Animal Lust? The portrait, the art, the piece of art?
No, it's something. It's like called The Fisherman's Wife's Dream or something like that. But
is this a paint? Are we talking about a painting or a movie?
we're talking about a woodblock print from the artist Hokusai.
Oh, okay. But there's another thing called Animal Lust. Well, anyway, that's the movie. It's by I hope I'm not butchering his name. Andrzej Zawalski, which is Polish. It's really a really good movie. It's one of the most tense movies I've ever seen in my life, and it ranges from artsy to horror movie, and it's just really something to try to find if you can. I think it's really well worth it.
That's cool.
The other movie, which would appeal more to mainstream horror movie people, is Dead and Buried. Maybe one of you have seen that?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. It's a movie that tanked, and apparently not a lot of people know about it or have seen it. I think it was either Blue Underground or Anchor Bay put out a copy of it. I rented it the other night. I saw the trailer. I wasn't too enthusiastic about it, but the moment I sat down and see that movie, I was like entranced. It was so good. It's not. It's a flawed masterpiece. Had the director had his way and done the film that he wanted to do, it would have been a full-fledged masterpiece, regardless of genre.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Why would you? I mean, what makes the film so good?
Well, again, this is another movie that benefits from you not knowing too much about it.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I'll say that it's sort of cliche to say this, but the performances of the protagonist and I don't want to say what kind of character he is, but another character, an older man in the movie. In fact, I'm trying to remember what his name is. He was not Santa Claus, but he was an old man in the original Miracle on 42nd Street. Well, it doesn't matter. The point is, you should go see that movie as soon as you can, or rent it from Netflix or whatever it is. But it's really creepy. It's just a really fantastic movie, Dead and Buried. I wish I can give full-fledged, reviews, but that would just give too much away. And I think these two films definitely benefit from from people not knowing too much about them.
Yeah.
Just walking in blindly.
What was that?
From just having no concept, sitting down and starting from
Yeah,
scratch.
yeah. You said Walking in Blind. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but yeah, had the director had his way and done the film that he wanted, it would have been, excellent.
Yeah.
But as it is now, it's just a great movie.
3D Movie Man
Right.
says Robert England's in it.
Robert Mitchum, what?
3D Movie Man said that Robert England is in it.
The Michelin Man?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Robert Englund has a very big part in it. Did 3D Movie Man see it?
Did you see it, 3D Movie Man?
I'd like to know his
I
opinion.
think he may just looked it up.
Oh yeah. England's in it for not blink if you and you miss him, but he has a small minor role. And this is before Freddy Krueger. So,
Yeah.
speaking of which, dun dun dun, what do you think about the remake? Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn with it because so far everything I've seen looks identical to what we've already seen. I mean, it looks the same story, same scenes, everything.
Yeah.
And I want to give it a chance because I always give the classic horror movies a chance when they get redone.
And they're always getting redone.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm going to save my critique of it until after I see it. I want to be hopeful, but I feel like I'm going to be let down. I mean, 3D movies says don't if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But
Right.
they redid Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and both of those remakes, the sequel and the first one of the remake, were amazingly done. I have no problem with those movies. I love those movies. The remake of Friday the 13th, not on the same level of the remakes of Chainsaw Massacre, but a really good, fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, like that's the only reason I'm kind of I'm on the fence on it until I actually see it. I mean, because they can do something good. Wolfman, the remake of Wolfman, it looks phenomenal as long as they keep
what I read,
the soundtrack proper.
What I read about the remake of Wolfman is that it's not the same story as the Universal movie. They said, you've seen that.
Yeah.
Same character, same basic setup, but we go in way more detail and take it in some other directions.
Well, see, that's good.
Which I was kind of happy with.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're remaking a movie
You should.
made in 19, I can't remember the year, like 38 or 43, somewhere in there. They were always like 70 minutes long.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to add a lot of stuff. But, hopefully it'll be good, and hopefully it won't have the like rock and roll soundtrack.
Yeah, man, I really hope not. And that's what I think, if they're going to remake a story, they should, or remake a movie, they should do that. They should go and look at the whole story itself and say, okay, we already know this about this character, about Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees or whatever.
Right, but
let's fill in the gaps. Let's fill in, I think Rob Zombie tried to do that with Michael Myers and did not succeed. But they did it with Jason Voorhees, and I think they did a really good job with it because you always, when you watch those movies, you're like, how the fuck does he get behind you like that? How does he end up there? And with his underground tunnels, it answers that question.
Oh, really? Yeah, see, I haven't seen the remake.
No, I think it's good. I think that's what makes a remake good, is when they take that extra step and said, well, these are the questions the fans have had all these years. Let's give them answers.
Like, how did Ralph Macchio actually catch that fly on the first time?
I know. It's just, we need to find that out. But we're not going to find that out in the Karate Kid because they already showed the trailer of the fly scene, or the fly scene in the trailer, and he doesn't catch the fly.
No.
He gets a fly spot.
I need way more caffeine.
So, but yeah.
Well,
3D Movie Man says, what? Go ahead. Eric, go ahead. Did we lose you? Hello, Eric?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Well, what did Movie Man say? Because I wanted to give my thoughts on the Friday the 13th remake. I mean the other one, the Nightmare on Elm Street.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, I thought 3D. Well, here's my problem with the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Number one, you've already made two of my points. The first one being, yes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And clearly, the original Nightmare on Elm Street doesn't need any fixing or updating as far as I'm concerned. Except, fanboys are complaining now. Nobody had a problem before, but apparently Freddy Krueger's makeup does not look like a burn victim, but looks like an acne-scarred teen. Okay, fine.
That's true.
But I'll give him that one. But the film as a whole, and not little minor blips like that, is a perfectly fine. Well, not perfectly fine. It's a really good horror movie.
Yeah.
And there's no need to update it at all, as far as I'm concerned. So again, here comes the problem with most Hollywood remakes: is that why are we remaking classics? The same kind of goes for The Wolfman, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Why are we remaking classics that everybody loves and kind of don't really need any updates when remakes should be concentrating on films that didn't work the first time, but you know what? Maybe it had a good premise, just didn't work out for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Why don't we remake those films? It doesn't stand to reason. The moment I remember that the day the Earth stood still, when it was remade, when I heard about that, I was like, good Lord, it is open season on anything now, because the day the Earth stood still, despite it being a quote unquote B picture, is about the classiest B picture from the 50s that there ever was, and it's still considered a classic.
Yeah.
It is.
If they're gonna, since they remade the day the Earth stood still, it is open game on anything. We're gonna probably be seeing Citizen Kane and Gone with the Wind soon, and God knows what else. It's a real travesty. Now,
I love the day the Earth stood still.
What was that?
Oh, I was just saying how much I love the day the Earth stood still.
I'm sorry, say that one last one.
He said he loved The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah, The Day the Earth Stood Still is a fabulous movie.
It is a good movie.
Why did I use the word fabulous? It doesn't matter. The point is that the Nightmare on Elm... What was that? Oh, nothing. I just heard some sirens outside my house. I'm okay. The Nightmare on Elm Street, the second point I wanted to make was that, again, something you said once again when you brought up another point, which is they're not doing anything new with it from what we're seeing on the trailer. As far as I'm concerned, Freddy Krueger still looks the same. He's got the sweater. He's got that fedora. He's got, a glove with some razor sharp knives on it. He looks exactly the same. They didn't bother changing him up. Now, okay, they made him look like a burn victim. Big whoop. So, what's the point? If you're not gonna, the point of a remake. I mean, you could say, oh, you can't change an iconic character, but if you're gonna go through the motions of actually remaking it, the point of a remake is to kind of improve. To improve on the original.
I did hear that they have Ray Romano and Jeff Foxworthy working on his one-liners, so that may be a vast improvement. I didn't really hear that.
You're kidding me, right?
But see, but Paul kind of brings up a good point about that. I love the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I think it's a great movie. After that, sucks. I hate Freddy Krueger's sense of humor. I hate that they tried to make him witty. I hate that the first one, he had that wit,
but it wasn't overkill.
With the one-liners like, you got the body, I got the brain. That shit, that was good. That worked. But it just went downhill, and it got where I'm watching the movie going, I'm really not enjoying this anymore.
Right.
And that's why I'm really hopeful for the remake. I really, really hope they take that element out and go back to how, he can be a smartass, but he can be a classy smartass. He doesn't have to be
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
It doesn't have to be Monty Python with razor tip fingers or something.
Yeah. Well, that's hardly Robert Englund's fault. That's just the screenwriter's fault. You know?
Which, I mean, it's everybody involved who allowed it to happen.
I blame it on the grips.
Right, exactly. But, again, at the end of the day, it's the producers or the director's call. You know? It even goes beyond the screenwriter. It has, whether Robert was okay with it, it doesn't matter. The point is there seems to be this weird backlash of Robert Englund for some reason. And not too big, just enough for me to notice.
Yeah.
Robert Englund is Freddy. I'm sorry. You know what? The one good thing this remake is going to have is Jackie Earle Haley in the role of Freddy. They could not have cast that any better. If they couldn't go with Englund, I couldn't think of anybody else to do it. And that's probably the only good thing that's probably going to come out of this entire, garbage.
Yeah.
So, but Englund, sure, okay, they turned the character into a joke, fine. But he can do it again. He can be scary again. It's not hard. I mean, I don't know what the big deal is. Didn't he do it for New Nightmare? He brought the character kind of back to its roots, and that was the whole point, to make Freddy scary again. I mean, people act like, okay, no, Robert Englund is now, stuck on this Freddy is a joke mode, and that doesn't make any sense to me. Unless, I've been hearing conflicting things. Apparently, the directors contacted Freddy Krueger. The director of this new movie contacted Robert Englund, and they said that he wasn't interested. However, conflicting reports otherwise has said that he said he was never even approached, according to him, his own words in this conference thing that I saw on YouTube.
Yeah. So
you don't even know what to believe at this point.
Well, I think it's all publicity too. Robert Englund, if he's smart, he doesn't want to say that he passed the baton to this guy, and it's good for his agent and the studios to not let it out that he gave it okay, because if it fails, they can bring him back and generate more money. If he stays, if nobody really knows what he says, because if he says he passed it, what's that?
It's not a question of whether they give him the okay. It's just a stupid line that I don't care for. The directors say one thing and Robert Englund saying another. The director said, we approached him. He said no. And Englund said, I was never even approached.
Well, I think that's just basic good marketing. I mean, I wouldn't want Robert Englund to say, yeah, I was approached and I said no. Because one, that's bad for him. That's bad for his fan base. Two, it's bad for the studios, because if this new Freddy bombs, they can bring Englund back and bring in bigger revenue. It's the real return of Freddy. I mean, look what they did with Halloween 3. They tried something new. It bombed. When they brought back Halloween 4, it did pretty well. I mean, because people it was in the press. The fanboys were talking about it. The horror magazines were talking about it, saying, we want to bring Michael Myers back. Part 4, we want Michael Myers back. Mm-hmm. Part 3 sucked. Bad. I think it's just good marketing.
I really like Season of the Witch, but, that's damning for me to say, but still.
Yeah, I mean, if you like it, you like it.
Yeah, but what was I going to say when you were talking about England? I agree with everything that you said about that. What was it? It was something very important, I think. Well, I lost track because then I started thinking about Season of the Witch. the dangers of jumping from conversation to conversation. So, I don't really know what to think of. Well, I do know what to think of this. This just smells wrong, really, all wrong. And I don't know. I will go see it, but I won't pay for it. I'm gonna sneak in.
I don't have that big of a problem with it, actually,
I'm
because
big on supporting these platinum doing people. What?
No, I was just saying that I don't have that big of a problem with the remake. Maybe I'm just becoming accustomed to a million remakes of everything, yeah. And I just don't care anymore what's being remade. I've never been a big fan of Nightmare on Elm Street anyway. I like the first one, the rest I don't care about, but I don't like the first one to be, defending it against anything. Yeah. And I just, I've never really liked Friday the 13th movies either. Those two just never did it for me. But I think we talked once about Hellraiser being remade.
Yeah.
And that I love.
And they're doing his whole, I mean, the rumor is that Pinhead is going to look completely different.
Yeah.
And I love that idea. I love Hellraiser. I am a huge Clive Barker fan, and I don't think anybody can go wrong with the remake. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, but the original movies are good.
Yeah.
But you could always go darker and deeper.
And that's what he wants
these
to
guys.
do. Yeah.
So as long as they want to go darker and deeper with Freddy, I'm down for that. But if they want to make it like a Prom Night remake,
well,
that's not so good.
I think the new Freddy guy has that pedophile look about him.
He looks creepy as fuck.
Yeah, And that's what Freddy was. He was a pedophile. He killed children. You know, he
That's
had his
kinda
way
weird
with.
that you're like, oh, I totally like him now because
Yeah.
he's funny and
Yeah.
I want to dress up as a dead pedophile for Halloween.
Maybe that's why
I never thought of-
maybe that's why they went that direction.
Yeah.
But this guy does have that creepy.
Yeah.
You know, I like little girls.
Yeah,
little
yeah.
boys or whatever. And I think if they play that up, I mean, 'cause
Yeah,
the trailer's definitely playing
and
it up.
less of the goofy
Yeah.
tap dancing.
I think if you watch a serial killer pedophile who comes back from the dead to haunt you in your dreams, and he's still a serial killer pedophile, you're gonna walk out of there with your skin crawling.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that'd be
that would be good. That would be good.
Well, that's another problem I had was there's this whole new trend in horror movies, starting I think with the Rob Zombie movies, with the Rob Zombie Halloween movie. I'm sorry, that they're taking these killers, these famous Jason, Michael Myers, and Freddy, and they're trying to make them sympathetic, and I don't think that worked in favor for the Halloween movie. I didn't see part 2; it didn't bother.
Well, I don't know. Halloween,
I
the
had
original.
no sympathy.
In John Carpenter's Halloween, Michael Myers showed sympathy. When he nailed that person with the knife up against the door, stepped back, and kind of tilted his head and admired his work. You know.
Yeah, I just thought of him as a machine, almost.
But when he did that, you thought he was a machine. But when he did that, stepped back and went, "Oh, that's pretty good. That's good work." You know, that kind of.
But at first, I was thinking he maybe felt sympathy, but then he's just admiring.
He's like, "That's good artwork."
Yeah, his handiwork, which makes him even more of a monster because he really appreciates what he does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't pick up any added sympathy for Michael Myers in the remake, but
he was just brute
I
force in that.
haven't seen the other remake, so I can't answer
From a
on
broken
that.
home, you had the abusive parents, you had all that sort of stuff. It was kind of a why Michael turned this way.
Oh yeah, but I
And
didn't feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
I thought that was really lame, and it looks like they're doing that with Freddy. Well, I mean, again, I've only seen snippets on the trailer, and apparently they want to make them, like, oh, pedophilia, it's a sickness. I don't know what I'm doing, sort of character. And I hope they don't go that route. I wanted to get this out there before anybody thinks that I think that Freddy was being sympathetic when they portrayed him as a pedophile. I don't want people to think that I sympathize with pedophiles.
Don't worry, we'll put that on the post of the show. The disclaimer that says Eric does not sympathize with pedophiles.
Zombie popcorn. We sympathize with pedophiles.
Yeah. I'll have the T-shirts made next week.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. The Wolfman remake, fine. The only thing I have a problem with is that if it makes a lot of money, guess what? We're going to see a Creature from the Black Lagoon remake.
Which I love. I love Creature from the Black Lagoon. I would be happy with that.
Just watched it.
For the first time?
For the first time. It was the only one I hadn't seen of all the major ones.
Yeah.
I found it in a used
I have
store.
the 3D copy.
I know. I want to watch that too, but I just watched it, and I was kind of torn on it because since it's the only one I hadn't seen, I was buying up all the Universal sets and watching them all, and then working my way up to Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wanted to like this one more than any of the others, and it's not really as great of a story as some of them, but
Because you didn't watch it in 3D.
yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. There's so much subtlety that you pick up in the 1956 3D. But because it was the beginning of kind of the well done 50s drive-in craze, I love it regardless of its shortcomings. But it is a kick-ass movie, and I would love to see a remake of all the Universal movie monsters.
I
I loved
the only-
the Dracula remake.
Well,
It
the
came
problem
out
with
in the
that is that
90s.
they've remade Dracula and Frankenstein to no end, so there's really no point to do those two.
Yeah.
Oh, there's always a point. I don't think they're ever gonna stop remaking.
No, as long as they're making movies, and there are
Yeah.
people like
I mean,
like us that are going to talk about it on radio
those
shows,
two-
blogs, and
Those two are the most, probably
My
remade movies
favorite,
ever.
I think if they're going to
My
remake Creature, they have to do it in 3D. They cannot remake any movie that was
pretty
originally
sure
done in
that's their
3D and
intention.
2D.
That'd be fantastic
Yeah.
if they got someone like Geiger to design the.
Ooh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
My favorite movie monster kind of got its remake already. That's The Invisible Man
Oh yeah.
from
Yes.
from the Universal movie line.
Which you can find on eBay, a bootleg of the movie.
Claude Rains.
No, it's Invisible Man, one of the series, but it's in 3D. I can't remember which one it was. I actually have the trailer.
Right. I like the Invisible Spy, which was
Right.
one of the sequels during World War II.
I like the nude bomb. Get smart.
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
I also like the
Get
glasses
Smart
that the Invisible Man wears. So
Oh,
there's
yeah.
those side pieces
Oh,
on.
hold on. What does the nude bomb have to do with The Invisible Man, the Get Smart movie? What's all that about?
Nothing. I just wanted to throw it in there for random.
Oh, okay. I'm like, wait a second. Because Paul was mentioning the World War II spy one, which isn't very good, and
Yeah.
then you mentioned the new. Oh, okay, I saw the connection. The Invisible Man plays a spy. Okay.
I love. I just love how they play the Nazis. Like, I mean, not to give sympathy to the
Yeah.
Third Reich, but they really
That's
play
our
the
second
Nazis.
shirt.
Yeah, they really played the Nazis like a bunch of idiots, you
Yeah.
know, and they're all like bumbling buffoons, and which is cool because it's World War kind of propaganda,
Yeah.
the good old Americans going in. But the first Invisible Man, that guy is just a dick through the whole movie, and
Well, yeah, no, but that's what's great about him,
Yeah.
and it's such such a compelling character, and
yeah, he's
you
just
know,
like, I want to rule the world, and he's a complete asshole the whole movie. It was really surprising because normally you don't see that in older movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it? What's the line? It's even the moon is frightened of me, frightened to death. The whole world is frightened to death. Something like that. I just showed the tremendous nerdiness.
Yeah.
Did you push up your glasses? That's fine.
Yeah.
Your head is actually wrapped in ace bandages right now.
Yeah. Those glasses are really cool.
They really are. I'd love to score some.
I wonder if you could get a replica of them.
I think you can.
I'm sure.
I'm sure there's always
Say that
someone
again?
out there willing to make them.
We were just talking and wonder if they make replicas of them, if you could actually get them online.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's what we
tried
should
my
ask,
best to try to look
we
for
should
those,
probably ask that
but
before.
apparently they were made for I'm sure there were glasses like that at some point or another.
Yeah. What do you want to ask?
It was women's glasses is what it was.
Your favorite monsters, huh?
Oh, yeah. Paul has an idea. He wants to ask everybody in the chat room, what are your favorite monsters?
Yeah. That's such a 12-year-old question.
But it's a good one. It's a good one. Robot Monster 3D movie, man, and we're in the same
We're all
boat.
12-year-olds at heart here, Paul.
Yeah.
And in mind.
I love Robot Monster. I love the story behind Robot Monster. The fact that when it came out,
Robot Monster.
the reviews were so bad, he attempted suicide.
Wow. I think my favorite is Tor Johnson as a... Really, anything Tor Johnson.
Yeah.
And Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. You love Frankenstein.
Well,
I
Dave,
love me some
the
Frankenstein.
plans for Day of the Triffids are pretty cool.
What is it?
Yeah, that's Miley's.
They're doing a remake of that.
Yeah, I'm aware. Yeah, they're doing a remake of everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're doing a remake of Zombie Popcorn Radio, too.
They're gonna, yeah, in 2 years.
They're actually getting some guys
what is it?
who are
RoboCop's
professional
running into some trouble.
and plan out the show.
Totally.
They also fill dead air.
Yeah, we just filled dead air with stairs. No. Miley has made a wonderful meal for us, and it is now done. So it is 8:51, and I'm going to end this show early tonight so we can enjoy this awesome meal she made. So
Let me sign out.
What's that?
Oh, let me sign out then, so you can close your radio show without me bothering you too. Okay,
That's
have a
cool.
good night, guys.
It's cool. Thanks for calling in. Everybody's welcome to call in. So,
Alrighty. Thanks for calling in. Everybody's welcome to call in.
See you later, Eric.
you still there? No, you took off. All right. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. We had a great show. Hope you enjoyed our
Dixieland Adventures.
yes, our audio road trip.
Our crap version of This American Life.
Yeah, and hopefully next time, it actually will be better.
Yeah.
So
We'll edit better.
yeah. So again, thank you again for listening. And next week we have Tony Anthony from the movie Coming at You on the show.
Who also does not have sympathy for pedophiles.
He doesn't. No, I'm sure he doesn't. No.
Hey, they're people too.
What? No, they're not. They're not. They're not people.
I'm just kidding.
So make sure you turn in because this is a major moment for me because I can't wait to talk to Tony Anthony. He's been he's been in almost every segment of my life in movies. So I'm really excited about this. So make sure you turn in next week. Thanks again for listening to Zombie Popcorn Radio, and we'll talk then.
Have a good night.
Good night.